Well, I'm here today to show you a tool that I get tremendous amount of use out of, and I think that very few people really realize how useful this tool is. Now, it's a tool that has to be sharpened, obviously, like all woodworking tools need to be, because they dull as you use them, but I'm going to show you all those things, and the tool itself is a scraper. Now, a lot of people call this a paint scraper, but I just call it a scraper because I scrape just about every kind of surface with it. Wood, paint, varnish. You can thin down varnish jobs with it. You can shape wood with it. You can do numbers of different things with it. And one of the things I wanted to show you is this is a Red Devil scraper right here. Now, the Red Devil blades are something that I've always used, and I don't think there's another blade on the market that's as useful as these Red Devil blades. And the reason is they have the proper temperament in them. So when you file them, when you go to file them, you can file them. I've tried to use a number of different carbide scrapers by different companies and different things like that. And, maybe you get a few strokes out of them and they do a little bit of work, but as soon as it gets dull, you can't sharpen it up. So you want something that you can sharpen, and this is it right here. Now, one of the things I'm going to show you right now is first, just quickly, how to sharpen a scraper like this. And I'm going to take a couple passes. First, I'm going to sharpen it, and then I'm going to do a little bit of scraping and show you how useful it is, and I'll show you what I find to be a problem with this particular scraper. Now, this piece of wood that I've got right here was a piece of white oak that was sent through a planer, and the planer itself wasn't very sharp. It's left some ridges in it here where it's had some teeth in the planer blades, and I don't really want to have to sand that off because I do very little sanding of anything, to tell you the truth, and I don't want to plane it because I could dig into it. The safest thing to do is really take a scraper like I just showed you and work on these things with a scraper. Now, that little ridge right there that the planer left, how simple that is to scrape that right off there, just like that. I'm removing wood as I go, and now it's got some marks in it right here that are mill marks, and I'm going to start trying to take those out. Now, I'm starting to have trouble with the scraper. Why is it? It doesn't want to work. It's loaded up between the scraper blade and the handle, and it's just riding on that rather than on the blade, and I've got to take something and try to clean that out of there. Now, it's a little dangerous taking your finger or your thumb and trying to sweep that out of there because the blade, like I said, is quite sharp, and you could cut yourself pretty badly, so I wouldn't do that. I would take a tool, some other kind of tool, and clean that out of there. And when you do it, you can go back to work, and there it's working again. No problem at all. Well, we've decided that it isn't really the best thing. These handles aren't the best thing. I love the blades. I don't particularly care for the handles. So we make our own handles, and I'm going to show you one of those right now. Just going to clean that out. And here's one right here. This is just a little piece of the planking that we were planking the boat with. It was 1 3/4 by 5/8, and I've cut it down to 1.5 inches, the width of the blade, and just shaped it a little bit on the bandsaw and bolted the blade onto this because I don't want two blades. There's a reason for that. The problem with the two blades is that when you're scraping in a corner, like you're scraping bright work or something like that, and trying to remove bright work, the other blade can make a digger in the corner. So, I just rather just have one blade. So this is a scraper that we've set up the way I like to set it up. It's just the crudest little handle in the world. It's just cut out with a bandsaw. It's got a little piece removed right here so that this piece of the scraper blade can butt up in that corner, and we bolted it down there with a little bolt. Now I'm going to sharpen this. Now, when you're scraping with this, look how that works. Now, when you're scraping something like this and you're trying to get that mill mark out of there, you're trying to do it on two different angles so that you don't develop ridges from the scraper blade. See, now that little mill mark is gone, and I can move over to this mill mark right here and remove that. That's a mill mark from the sawmill itself. And now I've got some roughness on the whole board here, and I can take that off. Now that is about 4 times smoother than it is right over here. And you can see this little ridge, how easy that was to remove with the scraper. So this tool really, really works well. And next thing I want to do is explain to you how it is that I sharpen this planer, or this scraper blade. Look at the amount of wood that thing's removing. It's still nice and smooth. I don't have any corner diggers in it. You know, I'm going to scrape it in 2 different directions. Takes all that roughness right off the board. So you can see how useful this tool really is. We use these tools all the time. We use a little 1-inch scraper for removing bedding compound where it squeezes out from behind the planking and different things like that. And we've always got one of these 1.5 inches wide. This is my favorite width. There's wider ones. I kind of like the 1.5 inch wide one myself. So what I want to do now is show you exactly how to scrape, how to sharpen one of these scrapers. Now, you're going to have to use a file. This file right here is a mill bastard. That's what they call them. You know, I didn't name them. It's a mill, it's a bastard cut, which means that it's diagonally cut straight across the file at about 45 degrees. And the way you use one is on a scraper. I put my thumb under the scraper like that. And I put it down a little bit on a diagonal. And then I file it like this. Now, you have to be, some people would, I see a lot of scrapers where people have filed them on an angle like this. And it really is very hard to get them sharp, and the edge doesn't hold up really well. So you scrape it. If you get that file over your finger, you've got the right angle, basically. You don't need it up like this, and you don't need it down flat. So my finger is there. As long as the file clears my finger, I've got the right angle. I'm going to make a few swipes, and I'm going across the blade in this direction. If you file this way, it doesn't cut. Right? If you file this way, it gets a nice sharp edge on your scraper blade, and it's got a little bit of a burr in the back right here. You can feel it after you file it. So that thing really works good. So I'm going to take and pick up the little bastard, give it a couple more strokes, and then we'll go back to scraping. And the thing is just cutting. Look, I'm going to sweep that right off there. 1 stroke. Look at that. That's how much material that thing removes in a stroke like that. So you can smooth up lumber like this with a paint scraper or a scraper. You can shape all kinds of wood. You can do all kinds of different things with a scraper. One of the most useful tools there is in the shop. Now, I'm going to show you how to make a handle for some of these, because you don't really have to buy a scraper handle. What you need to do is to get the blades. The blades are so important, but the handle isn't. I don't like the handles at all because they're plastic and the blades slide back and forth in the plastic. There's all kinds of problems. So I'm just going to trace this out real quick like. And then we're going to start up a little bandsaw. If I get that down far enough. And that is basically it right there. Now, I'm going to take one of these Red Devil scraper blades out of the package here. It's never been used before. And I'm going to just apply it right there. I'm going to take a drill. And I'm going to drill a hole in it. Right there. Like so. Now, I've got a little bolt right here. I'm going to put that in the hole. Drive it in. And put the nut on the back. Tighten it up a little tiny bit with a pair of vice grips here. Just like that. Now, I don't know how sharp it is out of the box, out of the package, but nothing. Let's try sharpening it. We'll pick up our little bastard here. Sharpen it up. Feel for that burr. And there you go. Look at that. No load. Works perfect. Easiest thing in the world to do. I don't know what else to do.